Hi and welcome to this presentation on coaching. As a coach, you need a wide range of skills to be successful. A coach not only has to develop players' skill levels and techniques, but also has to keep them interested and committed in order for them to return to any further sessions. There are also many different techniques and skills a coach can use dependent on the player's stage of learning, whether that's cognitive, associative or autonomous, their skill level and their age. Firstly, you can use observational analysis. Observational analysis in coaching involves observing the participant perform in the chosen sport. By analysing players, many coaches are able to spot players who have real potential in the game and are able to help players identify areas they need to work on. This can occur in any sport, and coaches can simply observe someone play and provide them with feedback. A good analysis will take into account both strengths and weaknesses. This feedback shouldn't be an attack on a player's performance and should involve discussion as well as motivation. Observational analysis can include just pure observation and feedback straight away, notational analysis and video analysis and software. Observational analysis uses these to improve players' performance. For example, a coach may watch, analyse and correct the technique of a serve in tennis, for example. Within team sports, it is almost impossible for coaches to observe all key events and note them down, especially if they are alone as a coach. This would also take up too much of their time and would distract them from all their other roles as a coach. This means it is less effective for team sports unless you were to use video analysis and software, which is very effective and a very useful tool in improving performance and skill level. However, can be expensive and may only be available to high-skilled athletes. You could also employ someone to note down stats, different statistics and observe certain people, but this could be expensive and would only happen at the top level. On the other hand, in individual sports like tennis, it is much more realistic for the coach to use observational analysis, as they are solely focused on the one performer, especially during a match in which they are just watching them, rather than in training when they may be joining in and using other roles as a coach. But a match you would just sit and watch and can use whatever statistics you need. There is also a big difference in effectiveness dependent on the athlete's skill level. For example, a professional athlete or people at the autonomous stage of learning, then observational analysis would be much more effective compared to a beginner or someone at the cognitive stage of learning, in which this technique would be less effective. Furthermore, a coach may need training in order to give effective feedback and must be experienced to be accurate. Observational analysis is effective as it provides tangible, numerical or video evidence. It also provides positives and negatives, so it's possible to identify targets. Furthermore, particularly video evidence recognises contribution of all players, as particular statistics aren't applicable for all players. For example, top goal scorer is not relevant for a defender, whereas video analysis would take into account all of this. Additionally, with video recording, you can replay it and cut it to the part you need. Software that records and counts statistics for certain players is particularly effective. Observational analysis is repeated for progress and removes potential bias from a coach, as it shows who is best without taking into account potential favouritism from a coach, and is based purely on facts. On the other hand, observational analysis can be ineffective, as without software it can be time-consuming and may distract a coach from their various other roles, and software can be very expensive, which many teams won't be able to afford. A coach may choose this particular technique for a player, particularly if they are in the autonomous stage of learning, in order to refine their skill and to target their weaknesses. For a beginner or cognitive learners, they may choose to do more demonstrations where useful. Next is goal setting. Goal setting is a mental training technique that can be used to increase an individual's commitment towards achieving a personal goal. Having short-term, medium or long-term goals can encourage an individual to work harder, to be more focused on the task and to overcome setbacks more easily. Targets must also be SMART in order to be effective. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic and time-based. These can be set by the player or coach, or can come as a result of a discussion between the two. We can determine whether goals are smart or not using testing, seeing if their game's improved overall and whether they can stick to it or not, among other things. Goals must be set taking into account a number of factors, for example age, stage of learning, confidence, ability and motivation of the individual. Beginners or cognitive learners require very short-term, easily achievable targets to boost their self-confidence and to maintain interest, whereas an experienced individual at the autonomous stage of learning or a high-level athlete will need more challenging yet realistic goals. The process of goal setting doesn't cost anything. However, depending on the level of performer and whether they are long-term or short-term goals depends on the time taken by a coach to set them. More long-term goals for athletes based on times or distance run in a game, for example, may take longer to work out specific goals, whereas a short-term goal in a beginner's tennis lesson can be made up on the spot, for example, how many can they do of a rally. Furthermore, a more competent and experienced coach is needed for higher level athletes as the process is more complicated in order to make the goals more specific and realistic to help the athlete develop. Goal setting can be just as effective in team and individual sports. However, a team will require more targets as there are more people, and you will need to set targets for a whole team, for example a league position, and also individual targets, for example number of passes completed for each player, in order to maintain motivation for each player, which in turn will help achieve the overall goal. There is also a significant difference in the intensity of a sports player's targets compared to depending on whether they are an Olympic athlete or a Sunday League football player. The Sunday League football player's targets are going to be a lot less hardcore compared to the athletes. Additionally, targets have to be flexible depending on different people. For example, someone who's trying to lose weight and is struggling, it is important you can change it to make it more attainable, whereas an Olympic athlete has specific targets they must meet even if they are struggling, if they want to win or want to make that Olympic standard. So you could be more lenient on lower level performers or beginners. This goal setting technique is effective as it increases engagement and motivation. It also helps improve confidence and persistence. This technique is also effective when the coach values the process, the outcome, and appreciates the effort and values the improvement a player makes. Effective goal setting also makes sure that the short-term, medium-term and long-term targets are all linked. This technique becomes ineffective when the targets set are unachievable, are imposed, i.e. not discussed, and are too long-term. Also, having too many targets causes the player to lose focus and will inhibit progress. The athlete will also become demotivated if the coach undervalues the process the athlete goes through and improvement they make regularly. A coach may choose to use this particular technique in order to increase motivation and allow the player to see what progress they have made. It also increases commitment, and the athlete themselves should have a say, which makes them feel involved, which further increases commitment and motivation. Finally, we have demonstrations. We often demonstrate in sports to teach a new skill or technique to groups or individuals for ease of understanding within sports sessions. Demonstrations can be carried out using a variety of different methods, but all must consider interaction with the group, new skills and techniques, gaining attention of the group, length and duration of the demonstration, and organisation. Demonstration involves giving them a visual image of what they should be trying to copy, or give a visual action of performance to aid learning. It also gives a mental picture for the learner. Demonstrations generally occur with a combination of visual and verbal instructions. There can be benefits in silent demonstrations, particularly for cognitive learners, as it allows them to just watch and copy, and means they are just simply going to copy what you do. Too much talking may distract or confuse them. However, this may not be enough information for an autonomous learner or more advanced learners or athletes, particularly if the coach isn't as good as the player or is inexperienced and doesn't give good enough demonstrations. Additionally, a demonstration is more important for a cognitive learner compared to an autonomous learner, as the autonomous learner will already have the basic skills and will know how to do it. Their skills just need refining. An autonomous learner will also be able to take more information on board as they have a greater understanding of the game or skills already. The angle of the demonstration is also very important, as it has to take everyone into account. This is also why demonstrations are more effective in one-to-one lessons or individual sports, as the coach can sense and ask whether the player is understanding, and the player can ask any specific questions they want, as there is more time, whereas in a group the session won't allow enough time for everyone to ask their own questions, so it may lead to a lack of understanding. A large group may also mean it's harder for players to see if they might. A large group may also make it harder for players to see, as they might get an obscured view due to the amount of people there. However, it is a good way to convey lots of information to lots of people, as it can benefit a wide range of abilities and is easy to understand. The language the coach uses is also important. Technical language can be very effective when demonstrating at a high level. However, this can turn into a negative if coaching a younger, less experienced group, as they won't understand and may get confused. An effective demonstration should only include 2 or 3 coaching points. This is good because particularly in a large group people will understand it, and it will maintain players' focus and motivation. However, this technique may not be enough for some players and may reduce motivation. An effective demonstration will give learners a mental picture and will convey more than words. It is also effective as it conveys more complex elements and can be repeated several times, or as many times as you like, until all the group understands it. As a coach, you can also use images or videos and slow down and correct the pace in order to adapt to the group. An effective demonstration can also help overcome language barriers. A demonstration becomes ineffective when the demonstration is poor quality and involves bad habits which the players may pick up. Additionally, if it's a large group, then players may struggle to see if the coach isn't positioned correctly. Furthermore, if it's only repeated once, then this creates confusion, so it must be repeated several times to make sure players understand. And finally, an effective demonstration must have a good combination of verbal and practical demonstrations. As many groups, it may be unlikely that the group will get it fully based on just one or the other. A coach may choose this technique in particular, as players can learn a lot from a demonstration or demonstration's actions, and learn skills that they can't pick up verbally. An effective demonstration can also be used to teach a wide range of different skills. Thank you for watching.